Good day, everyone. Today we are going to be talking about different cell referencing in Excel. Before we dive into the course outline for today, let me quickly explain what a cell is. Let's assume this Excel workbook is like a house. So each of these boxes that you see here is what is called a cell. Let's assume like this is like a room. So each of these room or cell, they have a name attached to it, and name can be seen here in the name box, where it is named according to the row letter and the column number. So in any cell, if I click on this cell, for instance, you have cell B2 because it's on row 2 and column B. So B2, that's how it is named. So in creating formulas, you have to be making references to different cells that contain some maybe some values, maybe text or and numbers. So to be able to adequately understand how to reference each of these cells, you have to understand the different type of referencing that we have. The first type of references is the relative reference style, the relative cell reference, which is the default that every when you type a reference or when you link to a cell, it will normally come with a relative style. For instance, if I press equal to this cell, it comes by default to the relative. Relative means that once you copy that formula and paste in another cell, it will update accordingly. So we are going to be having some illustration of what this means, but then before then let me just explain. Then the second one is the absolute cell reference, where you have if you have a cell where you copy the formula into another cell and it's the value in the other cell, or the formula didn't update, is going to be constant. So that's when you have an absolute. And a mixed reference is a combination of the relative reference and the absolute reference. So as for instance, if you look at here, we have example of the relative style. If you have a formula, say B1 is equal to B1 plus C1 in del D1, for instance. So let me come here and say equal to B1 plus C1. You press it in there. There's no value in B1 and C1. So let me say the value here, let's say is 2, and here we have, let's say, 4. So you can see that you have the value 6. Even by your normal arithmetic, you know 2 plus 4 is 6. So how do you know that we have done the right formula? Number one, the calculation is correct. Number two, when you click on this formula bar, you'll be able to see that B1 is referencing this cell where you have it this blue color. Then you have C1 referencing here where we have 4 with the red color. At any point in time when you type a formula, you see even from the formula bar, the B1 is carrying a blue color representing this blue color around these 2, and the C1 is having like a light red which is representing this red around this 4. So that's basically what this relative reference is. So the second thing is when you copy this formula of D1 into cell D2 here, you see that the answer becomes 0. The reason being that if you click on the formula bar, you now inspect and see that the formula has been updated from B1 to B2 and from C1 to C2, making it a complete relative reference. It's relative to where the formula is pasted. So wherever you paste the formula, it will update the formula to those cells that were previously referenced. And you should know that in referencing, you see the first formula will be shown the blue color, and the second one will be what will have a red color. So that's basically about the relative reference. So for the absolute reference, For you to be able to make a reference to be constant and non-relative and non-moving, non-changing, you have to put in that formula what they call the dollar sign. To be you can either put it on the letter, the column letter, or on the row number, depending on what you want to make fixed. You can make any one of them fixed, but to be absolute, you have to make both of them to be fixed. So that's the absolute reference. So for instance, in this same example, let's change the formula in D1. We can put dollar sign in front of the B and also in front of the 1. So it will fix it to that B1 column, and it will not update when you copy it to anywhere in the Excel book. Now the other thing is this for the second one, if you can also press F4 to make it to put inside the dollar sign, and the F4 works in like a toggle. You can put the dollar sign in front of the C and the 1. If you press the F4 again, it will put only in front of the 1. If you press again, it will put only in front of the C. If you press again, it removes it all, and now it puts it back. So that's what we need. I will just press enter. So if you duplicate this value, you can copy this value, this new formula, and paste in D2. Or you can just do Ctrl D when you are in D2 to copy the formula that is above it. So now looking at this formula, you see that the answer still remains the same, meaning the formula didn't update. It also referenced the B1 and C1 because it was an absolute reference. So that is what absolute referencing is, and everyone is useful in their own different ways. So now the next formula type is the reference type is the mixed reference, where for instance you have dollar sign B1 plus dollar sign C dollar sign 1. So we are going to say here, I will edit the formula and remove the dollar sign in front of the 1, and also remove the dollar sign in front of the C here in the second one. So you have your answer here. Is correct because you are still in that same cell, but when you duplicate Ctrl D, you have it changed because the C dollar sign 1 is still referencing the above C1, which it didn't update. It remained in the row 1. It will not move from that row 1 unless you remove the dollar sign from that 1. And the B also B is updating because you have, and the B is not updating, but this 2 is updating because here it was 1, there's no dollar sign in front of it, it updates to 2. So that's what the mixed references does. Now for instance, if you have this example, we are trying to calculate, we have products apple, banana, cherry, and dates, palm. So you have the prices here and the quantities, and you want to calculate. Let me remove all the previously inserted formulas so that we can do it together. Now what you need to do is to, for the relative reference, you say to get the total cost is to say the price multiplied by the quantity. So you can just simply, instead of typing, you can simply use your arrow key to move to the cell where you want to multiply times the other one, and that's all, instead of typing in the formula. So you can, if you wish, you can just copy down this formula and paste it, and you see that it updates. If you say 1 times 10 is 10, 0.5 times 20 is 10, 2 times 15 is 30, and 3 times 5 is 15. So when you inspect the formula, you see that it actually picked the right places against the products. You see this is the right against the products, and that is all. For if you are to use Apple reference to look at this data, for instance, you will now understand why you need to understand how each of these references work, to know which one is appropriate to the task you have ahead. So now we have used the first relative formulas, and we have seen the result that everything updates. Now for the absolute reference, let's come here and say C21 times we'll make C21 to be relative and the other part of it to be absolute, and see what result it will come up with. So we have C21 times D21. So I'm going to make this D21 to be what? Absolute, by clicking on F4. So I press enter, I copy and I paste under the other side. You see, for the first item is correct because that's exactly where we are now. So when you move, you see that the D21 didn't move because it is absolute, but the C22 has updated and moved to the next cell. Also, if you look at the next formula, you see D21 also is fixed, is still there, and C21 now is now C23, and also for the last one. So you can see how this thing works. So for the mixed, now what we are saying here is we make this entire right side of this formula to be absolute, while the other side is relative. So now the next one, we want to mix it and see how it works. We said insert formula C21 times, we have D with we'll put $sign in front of the 21, so we have it this way. You see the first answer is still correct. Let's copy and also paste in the other ones. You have the second one is not correct because the C21 remain in that row without updating, but the other side C22 is updating. It updates here too and also update here. So you can see based on inspection, by multiplying 1 times 10, you see is 10, 0.5 times 20 is 10, 2 times 15 is 30, and 3 times 5 is 15. You see that for this kind of situation, the relative referencing is appropriate for this, but not the absolute reference and the mixed reference. So both of these are not appropriate for this situation. So you can play around this in your own free time, do a lot of playing here and there, then you understand it further. So I'm going to stop here. See you again in the next video. Thank you.